For our first work group discussion, our assignment was really to focus on the unique challenges faced by those with congenital disabilities. For those of you that aren't familiar, a congenital disability is one that is present during or before the time of delivery. For my individual post, I focused on the aspects of learned helplessness, developing a sense of identity, and the mental distress of parents and caretakers of those with a congenital disability. To briefly define learned helplessness, it's when the parent or the caretaker overcompensates for the child's disability by constantly performing tasks for them without giving them the opportunity to attempt the task for themselves, or giving them very limited opportunities to do so. Learned helplessness also impedes the child from developing a sense of identity and independence. When we discussed it as a group, we agreed that by the child never getting to attempt or master new things like sports or extracurricular activities, that they don't really get to create the same bonds or develop the same tenacity to overcome new challenges that children or teens who do participate in these kinds of activities do. When we began to talk about it as a group, Jeff brought up the conspiracy of silence, which he explained as the guardian neglecting to talk to the child about their congenital disability, maybe for fear of upsetting them, maybe for fear of scaring them. But as a group, we agreed that keeping the child in the dark about their disability could really only do more harm than good, because it doesn't give the child an opportunity to take part in controlling that part of their life. And obviously a congenital disability is a very permanent and important part of someone's life. Still keeping on the topic of identity, Crystal brought up an important note about bullying. These children not only have to face the awkward phases of puberty, they also have to face it while overcoming the stigma of a disability. We all share the same view that children with congenital disabilities, as they grow up alongside children who don't have disabilities, they'll begin to notice differences within themselves and others, and they might become self-conscious about it. On that same note, kids without disabilities may begin to make fun and bully those who have a more obvious, maybe physical disability, since they don't fully understand the differences between one another. Bullying is very harmful, can leave a very lasting effect, and it can do a lot of damage to the self-esteem of a child with a congenital disability. And that's something they may carry with them in the future. It's something that may hinder a healthy view of themselves as they grow into adulthood. When I talked about the mental distress of the parent or the caretaker in my post, I focused more on the emotional component. So I was really thinking about the anxiety or the stress that a parent might feel about having to take their child out in public. Maybe because they might be thinking of how society would treat their child, look at their child, what they might say about their child, and in turn, the guilt that the parent could feel about even having those thoughts. When my group got together to video chat and share our individual views, Erica helped me to look at parental distress in a very different way. While I focused on the emotional aspects, she brought a great focus to the financial burdens that a family can face when it comes to congenital disabilities. I mean, these are expenses that begin from the very first day of the child's life, and they're expenses that will last the entirety of the individual's life. That, along with trying to maintain employment while simultaneously taking care of the child and taking them to doctor's appointments and all the things that come along with congenital disabilities, can really add to the mental distress of the parent or the caretaker. Overall, our group video chat was very eye-opening, and it gave me a multifaceted view of the challenges that those with congenital disabilities face. We started our discussion by proposing that maybe those with congenital disabilities might have it easier because they never had to experience the shift from non-disabled life to life with a disability. But I think it's very apparent that by the end of our group chat, our views were drastically different.